The Surfing Violinist presents Why Bollywood? 15 Magical Bollywood Moments That Put Masala in This Ferungi's Veins. Part 3, Masala Vlog 30.
The problem with a Ferungi talking about Bollywood is the same problem with anyone from outside of a culture talking about anything. There's ultimatums that you deliver, that you think you understand things, and you say things that are hasty generalizations. You jump to conclusions. And so I'm guilty, I think, of doing it even in these videos. I think if I ever meet Rohit Shetty, he will probably take me aside and tell me, dude, you don't know what it's like. Like, you don't have any context for what this industry is like and the compromises we have to make to please advertisers and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that is a problem with criticism at large. A lot of times the people who critique things just don't understand how the sausage is made and how difficult it is to get a movie made at all or to get a book written at all. And this is why it's difficult for people who do criticism to make that jump across to make creative work themselves. So, especially if you're an outsider. And so if I think probably in 10 years I'll come back to these videos, I'll be like, I see what I was going for, but I kind of was talking out of my wheelhouse. There's this great line in this film North Shore, which is about the words the Hawaiians use for white people is haole. There's this haole surfer from the mainland. He goes to Oahu to surf, and he's learned to surf at a wave pool. Never seen waves bigger than 4 feet, literal 4 feet, what the Hawaiians would call 1 foot. So he's never seen waves bigger than that, and he has the audacity to go to the North Shore and think this is the mecca for surfing. He's going to actually make a drop in the bucket. And there's something that this surfboard shaper, his mentor, tells him. He said, you got a lot to learn, so why don't you just shut up and watch? And it's just very true. When you're trying to learn something new as an outsider, you're only hurting yourself by jumping to conclusions about things. So this next film I'm talking about, this is another Salman Khan film. I made fun of this to the end, and it is a really goofy movie. And in most cases, I would say, until making this video right now, actually, while I was surfing this morning, I thought about it. I was like, I think I need to reassess this movie. I would have said that this is a net negative. Even with the song that I'm about to talk about, I would have said this is less than the sum of its parts. The whole is worse than all of it put together, and even this great song cannot redeem any of it. But now that I think about it, we have this concept in mainstream film, so bad it's good. And there are lots of films that hit that criteria. You know, certain movies have been very successful on that whole premise. Snakes on a Plane, that was its whole thing. It's going to be so bad, it's going to be good. So some movies are more successful at that. I think there's something so absurd about this movie. And Bollywood movies will sometimes do that. There's one with Hrithik Roshan where there's a talking parrot, like CG animated in the middle of this movie. Just audacious. I think of Ega or Mucky, the South Indian film about the guy that reincarnates as a fly. Dude, it's not even bad. It's just so audacious. It's good. So Yuvvraaj, I wrote this film off. I said it was so bad it's not worth even mentioning. I don't know. I think it could be a little cult phenomenon to go back and watch this. One of the dance scenes that has this lady pop in and sing it in Hindi. This soul singing. We think about it all the time. It is such an audacious, like, a bit of, they'll have your token foreigner that pops in and to be like, do a line like we were the token foreigners in this one movie and they dubbed over us. They definitely didn't dub over this lady singing. She's got a good voice and she's singing in Hindi. It's just so great, man. Like, I think this movie's good, actually. I take it back. I was talking about how bad this movie is. I think it's actually good. It's insane. It's like if you combined Rain Man with a rom-com, with Masala, with The Sound of Music. That's what this movie is. The song that got to me and Melissa very early on, before we ever went to India, was Tu Muskura. And definitely want to cover this on violin. I've actually played it before. I think I've played it on my violin channel. I need to do a proper cover of it. This is a great little bit where the Rain Man character he comes out of his shell, Anil Kapoor, he comes out of his shell and he starts doing the Indian version of solfege singing. So in The Sound of Music, it's do, a deer, a female, deer, ray, a drop of golden sun. So he starts doing the sare gama thing, but Indian, like what me and Melissa call Indian scat singing, that's not what it is. It's kanakol. And he starts, I think that's correct. Is that right? Maybe I might be getting this wrong. I think that's the rhythmic part. Anyway, he sare gamas all over the place here. And it's just such a beautiful moment. You've got the cello, who Katrina Kaif is playing, and then you got him sare-gamaing through it in counterpoint, and then you've got like the orchestra at the same time. Again, this is just a really beautiful, operatic, Broadway musical style magnum opus. It's fun. And it's good. I'm curious to go back and watch the whole movie now. I actually want to go back and watch it. There's this other song and dance number in which Bowman Irani, playing the same character he plays like in every movie, they're having some dance. It's like a Cats moment. It's like a reference to Cats where people are dressed up as cats or something. And he actually roars like a lion. It's a unique movie. I don't think it's so bad it's good. It's just so audaciously whimsical, it may just be good. But this song is good with or without the film. Tu Muskura. I think maybe the best gateway drug to somebody who likes like rom-coms would be Zindagi na Milegi Dobara. This one has a song that played non-stop at weddings and special events while we were in India, and for good reason. What's really great about it too, everyone sings in this. Like the three leads, they all sing the part. You can tell it's them singing. Rithik sings, and the other dudes sing. I'm blanking because I'm on camera. I've done better than I thought I would, actually, not blanking on people's names. But our leads actually sing, and it's very refreshing that they do. And the setup for the song and dance number is actually kind of like plausibly, believable. There's they're in Spain, and these Spanish dancers. And they're doing a little set, and so they come up and sing in Hindi, and the whole thing is, we can't understand you, but you're lovely, and so they do this little dance number together, and it's just infectious. And there's a lot of other good songs in the film. There's some good like they're not actually dance scenes, just montages with songs as they're driving around, and the whole premise of it is a bachelor's party. It's like The Hangover, Indian style. But it's really kind of philosophical, and I think it's actually good. Like the moral of the story is actually good. It's a coming of age story for a bunch of dudes who are about to maybe settle when they shouldn't. When they're about to make decisions that define the rest of their life, and maybe it's time they look for something more. It's a good film, and this song is really good. Senorita. Rang De Basanti distilled another Bollywood trope for me and Melissa, and that is operatic tonal shifts. I played it in an orchestra for a while, the Philharmonic of Northwest Florida. Our conductor, David Ott, the way he explained opera is that basically the cool thing about opera is it allows you just to break form on the turn of a dime. Like as soon as a character walks in, you can have a different whole theme, and so the music can just change like that. The only background I have with opera is Final Fantasy VI, the video game. There's this opera scene, and Nobuo Uematsu, the composer for that game, he did such a great job of showing that. This one thing happens, this character comes in, they start having a battle, and the music just changes like crazy. But David Ott was the one that articulated that to me. Rang De Basanti is that from beginning to end. It starts as a rom-com. It starts as like the manic pixie Ferengi girl, and it turns into this. I mean, you almost say it's like less freedom fighter and more like insurgent uprising. And the music throughout is, I will say, uneven. Not all the songs really work. Sometimes, though, I do think they're so whimsical. They are good, like songs, the Musti Kapatshala, I'm a rebel. It's easy to write this film off in a way as just being a seditious kind of anti-government, anti-India screed. But the way the film gets around it is by really pinning the blame not on India, but on profiteers in the military-industrial complex who have sold India out and sold the soldiers out to short-term profits. And I think that's something that we can feel all around the world. It might look like, maybe communist propaganda or anarchist propaganda, but it's really about how people, in the guise of capitalism, in the guise of nationalism, are actually just profiteering in the short term. And the cherry on top is the final song in the film for me and Melissa. So we got this A.R. Rahman signature collection when we didn't know much about Bollywood, when we were doing a lot of cross-country road traveling before we went to India. So this is a Rahman heavy list because we just didn't know any better back then. And that, he was famous because of Slumdog Millionaire. So we listened to that a lot. And part of the reason I'm doing this series, and I will continue to do it in some form or another, is to broaden my understanding of more Bollywood outside of Rahman. But that song hit us at a good place. It was long before we had Rohan. I mean, Rohan wasn't even in the picture. We were, driving around like in 2010 or something like that. We'd listened to Roobaroo especially. And that's how the film ends with that song, which is almost kind of like absurdly optimistic in the face of impending doom and the justice that's coming for you. And Roobaroo means face to face. So it's face to face with the consequences of your actions, and face to face with fate, maybe. Face to face with fate, and face to face with what makes you you. Face to face with the light exposing the darkness. So I have this habit of, when I wake up the kids, I would just come up with these stupid nursery rhymes off the top of my head, usually with a stuffed animal singing in their face. And so with Rohan, for whatever reason, I started singing Roobaroo to wake him up, and it became his nickname because I would be Roobaroo, Rohan V, Roobaroo, Rohan V, Roo. And then we started calling him Roobaroo, and then we called him Roobards, and we started calling him Roobert Man. So, and another whole song came out of that. So I have that song to thank for this little nickname that has been big in our family and still comes up every now and then. So. And of course, there's the other song, Tu Bin Bataye, which may be too emotional. It might be a little bit too not saccharine is not the right word, but dripping with latent melancholy, too bittersweet. If you're in the right mood and you can handle the purpleness of it, it is transporting. Like that whole scene where they're at the ruins and they're dropping leaves on them. It's something special, man. I mean, I can be a sentimental softie. I'm not just a cynic. I kind of go back and forth between the two extremes. And depending on my mood, if I'm in the right mood, that one really hits me, and I feel like a normie again. I'm like, oh, this is what normal people feel like when they go listen to live music. I don't understand this. If I'm just in the right place, it'll hit me right. It's super operatically distilled, like a full opera in this one melody. And Madhushri is goddess tier vocalizer. I mean, this is great stuff. All right, take two. I already tried to talk about Sadda Dil Vi Tu from ABCD, Anybody Can Dance, and ended up talking way too long. And actually, this is not take two, it's like take four. I sat down to do this and ended up going off in 18 directions. Again, it's hard to talk about this when I've done a whole podcast on it. I've done a whole video on it. So I'm trying to get this under 5 minutes, and I just start talking about it and start talking about a lot of things that are out of the realms of a review. It's hard for maybe you could call me a disgruntled Christian to talk about this, because I end up talking about a lot of Christian errors, colonial errors, missionary errors, and a lot of those are autobiographical. My misreadings of Hinduism over the years and unfair caricatures, you could say, this dance movie helped me sort through some of those. The climax of this film turns into a worship dance, and it helped me understand the Hindu concept of darshan better than I ever understood it before. Darshan being the unveiling of the god. And also to understand the iconography of Hinduism in a way that before I was always just caricaturing it as look at these savages bowing down before this little statue, this murti, this idol. And this helps a Westerner, I think, understand that this is more of understanding an aspect of God, transcendent God, in a locally expressed tradition. And so in this sense, Ganesh, as the remover of obstacles, is a picture of God's ability to remove obstacles. And everyone in this auditorium gets this. Like, no one has to say, it's worship time, put your hands together, raise your hands for God. It's just, the music is so good, the dancing is so good, and everyone gets it in this moment. It's a eureka moment. Like, people, a bunch of Ferengis start standing up. They're like, oh, this is really good dancing. This is really good expression of the local culture in a way that gets through to me. This is what cinema is supposed to do. Show, don't tell. It's rare to have a dance scene that actually has stakes, especially at the climax where it works without overextending and being melodramatic. There's Masala here because the fact that everyone could be on the same page to this degree at this level of dance is maybe asking a lot, especially when the dance is much more improvised. They probably needed to maybe preface this with a little like, hey, we got this little side project dance we've been working on, but just to bust it out without any sort of nod or foreshadowing the screenplay that this was going to happen. But whatever, there's a little bit of Masala there. And I love it in movies when the villain gets it, when even the villain admits, okay, it's that this moment is so good. What looked like a dilemma before, you can either dance to impress, which is the villain's approach, or dance to express, which is the protagonist's approach. In this moment, the villain looks over at the protagonist. Well, I mean, he's the teacher, but he's the leader of the protagonists. And it's like, oh, this is what you meant. Now I get it. You can dance to express and be impressive at the same time. So Ganesh, as the remover of obstacles, allows the villain to see this. It is a Madeline moment, a memory from their past, that it's like all the illusions of what he thought dancing had to be and what he thought commerce had to be. All of it is removed, and you can have praise, worship, celebration, commerce, and competition in one moment. And so he's kind of the stand-in for the colonial Westerner, whether it's a missionary or a tycoon or an ambassador. All of a sudden, this villain character gets it, and if you're paying attention, you get it too. Sadda Dil Vi Tu, a little harder to cover on violin, but maybe one day. All right, that went a lot quicker. I think it went quicker. I always look at these things and I'm like, man, I talked for 7 minutes. It's supposed to be a vlog, not a treatise. Finally, Komuram Bheemudo from Triple R. Now, technically, this isn't Bollywood, but South Indian film has become it's not even parallel. They're really just a different distribution pipeline for the entire global Indian audience. So I know it may offend some from South India to call this Bollywood, but I'm just kind of lumping this under the Masala category. South Indian film has come into its own, and it has actually vanquished North Indian film at the box office so much now that setting new records, new standards that weren't even really thought possible. RRR released globally. I got to see it here. I've gushed about it before. This song in particular, Komuram Bheemudo, is like a mixture of the Passion of the Christ torture scenes with this freedom fighter vigilante scene, and very much like revisionist history Quentin Tarantino, whether it's Inglourious Bastards or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's this excessively violent, like, what if it could have been like this And it's just so great. It starts off as this mournful song, a reference to a historical character, as well as the Indian hero Bheem. And then it turns into this revolutionary, rousing bit at the end. I've covered it on violin. I'll include it, a link to it, and you can see it. It speaks for itself. It's a great standalone bit of music. My buddy, who at the time really didn't have much understanding of Indian culture or whatever, he said he just loved this song. He said there was just something about it that just took him, and even in my little TikTok minute version, he's like, there's something at the end of that just takes you to another place. And that's the power of this song and this film. This film, I think, is greater than the sum of its parts. I loved it. I thought this was as good as Masala could be. It's really like Quentin Tarantino meets a video game, meets Masala, meets musical. Triple R's a fantastic Masala ride. It's up there like with Lagan in terms of this anti-colonial thing, but it takes it to this other level. It's just so cartoonishly over the top. It's good stuff, man. And this song is one of these things that even if you don't like the excess violence of this movie, you can appreciate this song for the masterwork that it is. So there's 5 more bits of Indian movie and music magic that put Masala in this Ferungi's veins. Over the next year, I'm going to start spicing up my regular Masala vlogs with at least one new one of these. Maybe I'm not going to make it into these videos are so far behind. This was from June or July of last year. I've actually finished some of Masala vlogs in the interim. There's a couple where Melissa had a big event, and so I've already finished that vlog. So for those, I won't add one of these, but I will start adding in the unfinished vlogs one more movie music moment that has mattered to me, and hopefully I'll be able to cover all of these over time and really shore up my Bollywood violin playlist.
To see these videos early without ads, join the lineup here on YouTube. You just need a YouTube account, and for $1.99 a month, you click this little join button and sign up to get early and ad-free access to 4 monthly vlogs: the surf vlog, the violin vlog, the Masala vlog, and the family vlog. Thank you very much.